Hello and welcome again to another episode of One Starfish, where our mission is to change the world one starfish or one person at a time. I'm excited for our guest today. Matt is a really good friend of a really good friend of mine. So therefore, he's a friend of mine,
Oh,
and he's in Arte, and I'm excited to meet him. Guys, make sure to rate, review, subscribe, share. That's how we get the word out. So thank you so much for your time and for being on the show, Matt.
Angela, thank you for having me. And I have watched you since I've been in Arate, and everyone loves you. And so, my friend loves you, so I love you. So
Look at
that's
that.
how
All
that
the love.
works. I know, right?
And by the way, we're recording probably earlier than this will be showed, but it is Happy Thanksgiving. So I am thankful for all my friends. Um, American Thanksgiving for all the Canadians. So Matt is a speaker, a coach. His business is called Voice by Matt. All that information will be in the show notes if you want to learn more, of course, and we'll go into that. What he all does, he's been a performer. He's actually started his own business in 2019, but he's been coaching for 20 years in the school system and then went, into independent back in 2019. And we were just touching on a lot of this before. So you got introduced to Ed Milet in 2019, basically, and that's when you kind of transitioned. So what was it about Ed and being introduced that made you like, because I mean, lots of people get introduced to different people and they're just like, nothing changes. So what changed?
This is a great question to start with, Angela. I love it. So, my chiropractor, his name's Doug Swanson. He's an amazing guy. Um, he saw, I don't know, like, you see gifts in people, I see gifts in people, Angela sees gifts in people, we all see gifts, like, especially in the people that we are around in the Arate Syndicate. And he saw a gift in me. And he said, Matt, I've been watching your lives. You talk very similar to a guy named Ed Milet that I think you'd need to listen to his podcast. I think you'd really like him. And I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. And the first episode that I listened to was him and Dr. Joe Dispenza,
Hmm.
and it blew my mind. And I was like, I really like this guy. This guy is awesome. And then he said, well, if you liked him, you should listen to the MF CEO. And so I started listening to that. And I was like, man, this is incredible. And every once in a while, they drop in little nuggets about Arate Syndicate. And my chiropractor Doug was like, "Oh, it's really expensive. I don't know if I'm even gonna try to do it." And it was about April, I think, when they opened it up again in 2019. And I told my wife at the time, Andrea, I said, we just had a car payment go up. I want to be around people like me. I love this 75 hard thing. Um, I've, I've transformed my life. I've read all these books. I've never read a book cover to cover before 75 hard. I want to be around people like me. And about that time, too, I got selected to present in London at King's College on the topic of magic, performance magic. And so that's a good transition into the purpose of why I'm doing this. In Dr. Joe's book, I read a phrase that says energy is frequency, frequency carries information. And I said, oh, I was right. Holy crap. And so in 2013, I was coaching Mariah Warren. She was a voice student. She was singing At Last by Etta James. At last, my love has come along. That one.
Cool.
And I said, Mariah, we're going to try something. I want you to close your eyes, and I really want you to feel a whole bunch of love. I said, what do you love more than anything in the world? And she said, I love my mom. I said, perfect. Feel that love for your mom. And then I heard this voice, Angela, say, go further. And I was like, okay. This was 2013. And, this was 10 years ago. Whoa, that's wild. Wow. Yeah, I was 36 years old. And the voice that was inside me said, build the scene. Because, in performance, we build the scene, right?
Correct.
And so I said, okay, Mariah, keep your eyes closed, visualize the scene. Is it inside? Is it outside? Is it day? Is it night? Who's there? She goes, what? I said, just do it. And so she did it. And I started playing the piano and she started singing. And I felt this love and this really amazing energy. But then something really bizarre happened. I started seeing these visions in my head that were not mine. And I stopped her and I said, Mariah, are you outside on like a green grass hill with like flowers to your left and a tree to your right? Like a picnic situation happening? And she looked at me, she goes, Bertho, how do you know that? I said, I have no idea. This is weird. And so for a whole summer, we went back and forth, back and forth. And I got scared and I threw it away because I was like, they're gonna fire me. They're gonna fire me. I'm gonna get like hung up like a witch in this
No
little tiny
kidding.
town. Um, and then in 2019, I read that book before I was going to London, and I said, I was right, and I know how to teach this. And so before I went to London, I was doing a CrossFit workout, and I didn't have a way to make it simple. And of course, God provides. And all of a sudden, I said, I need steps. I need to make it simple so that people can just activate that state and they just go on stage and people feel them and see what we want them to see. And about that time, those steps dropped in. Get in a mindful meditative state, build your energy, visualize the scene. Number four, action. Do the thing. Um, and so, I say all that because that all of that happened before the Arate live event in St. Louis. And so what did I do? On the plane, I set my intention. What did I do before I got to around anybody in the Arate syndicate? I set my intention. I did my intention steps so that they would feel me. All right. I haven't really told this part of the story. So when I got there, I'm a public school teacher. All right. I'm making like, I don't know, at that time, probably 60,000 a year. A year.
Teachers do not get paid enough. Anyway,
No, they do not. That's a whole nother podcast.
yeah, that is.
Um, but I'm in this circle with these guys, and they start talking about numbers and things, and I'm like, "Woo!" They're like, "Yeah, I cleared 3 million this last month. Yeah, I did 1 million. We got $1 million deal. Blah 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 blah." I was like, "I am in this circle. Don't talk, Matt. Don't say a word." And of course, what they say, well, what do you do?
What do you do?
I'm a public school choir teacher. They're like, oh, cool, man. All right. They just accepted me. I was like, what? And so I rolled with them to TJ's place where he does
Wow.
IVs, right? And I rolled with all of them. And it was me and Nathan Mansfield, Sean Henry, um, Philip from England, um, Jeff Brecken. And I'm getting IVs with all these dudes. And I'm just listening to their conversations. I'm like, wow. And then they start asking me what I do. I'm like, I'm a voice coach. Like I'm a voice teacher. I teach people how to sing. And they're like, okay. And they're just like, cool. So I was just being me. I show up to the Arate event. They're playing some Dre and Snoop Dogg, so I knew I was in the right place when I walked in. Um, and so I go in, I sit down, and Stephanie Van Dam, who followed me because of 75 Hard, she goes, "Hey Matt, I got to tell you something." And I go, "What?" She wouldn't tell me. And so anytime anyone says anything like that, you're intrigued. You're like,
Of
"Oh,
course.
they know something. They know something about me." And so she turned around and she goes, "Did you know that Tony Robbins has a voice coach?" And I go, "Oh my God, Stephanie, I know why I'm here now. I know what I'm going to do." And so the next day I sat down with her and Dylan um, and a couple other Arate people, and I wrote my business plan.
Wow.
And by November, I got the LLC formed, and Mansfield was the first person that signed up with me.
Wow.
and Jeff Brecken was the second person that signed up with me, and the rest, and that's what I've been doing, helping people find their voice, the courage, the confidence. The reason why Nathan worked with me in the first place, when he got on the Zoom call like we are right now, I did my whole demonstration for him, and I was going to work with business professionals, speakers, coaches, presidents of companies, on craft, which is technique, artistry, which is storytelling, and performance magic. That was my gift. That's the thing that separates me from everybody else on earth, is how to activate that with people, right? And so when I gave the presentation to Nathan, um, he looked at me and he goes, "Holy crap, Matt. I thought you were just full of crap." Okay. He goes, "I'm going to sign with you. Let's do this. Let's do it per month." I was like, "Whoa, are you kidding me?" It was the most amount of money ever in my life that I would make. And
Wow.
one of his goals was to have the courage to speak in front of other people. Now, if you watch his stuff now, you're like, "What?" But if you go back far enough on Nathan's Instagram, you're going to see like we unlocked a lot. One of his goals, I haven't said this either, Angela, on anybody's podcast ever. You're getting unfiltered Matt Berthot.
Unfiltered. I like unfiltered. I'm all
Yeah.
about that.
So Angela, Nathan really wanted one-on-one time with Ed. Like, and I was a little jealous about that because I wanted one-on-one time with Ed Milet.
Yeah.
And so I worked with him with the intention steps, getting him into a mindful state, visualizing him talking to Ed. And what we visualized was him working out with Ed in Whistler when they had the summit in Whistler,
Mm-hmm.
Canada. And I tried everything. I remember it was we were on the last day of the summit, and he FaceTimed me. He goes, "Matt, it's not working, man. It's not working." I was like, "You don't have faith, Nathan. We got to do this. Come on, man. We're gonna do this together right now. We're gonna visualize you talking to Ed. Let's go." And so we did it. I said, "Okay, you feel that energy?" "Yeah, I feel it." "Okay, what you're going to do is tomorrow morning, you're going to be at the front of that line. You're going to be at the door. And the second the door opens, you're going to go to the front row. I don't care where you were sitting before. You're going to sit in the front row and you're going to sit there and you're going to give Ed energy all day." And so he called me at the break and he said, "Matt, I'm trying, man. I'm taking notes. I'm feeling. I'm giving him energy. It's not working." And I said, "Dude," I said, "what do you have left?" He's like, "Question and answer." I said, "Okay, you're gonna ask a question. You're gonna ask a question. You must." And so I took him, and instead of Zoom calling me, he FaceTimed me because FaceTime can't record. And I wish I would have recorded this moment because this was the moment, Angela, that I knew I hit a grand slam. I knew I could do it. I knew I could help business pros. I had the magic. All right. He called me and he goes, "Matt, it worked." I go, "Shut up. What do you mean it worked?" He goes, It's going to be better than what we wanted," which is how it always works, right? He said that he asked a question about how he could dissolve the business with his current wife. And he asked the question, and he said that Andy and Ed both looked at each other. I could see the whole thing. And they're like, "I don't know. I don't know." And then they said, "Hey, why don't you come down and talk to us after we're done, and we'll figure this out. We're going to help you out then." That's what Ed said. And so everybody does what, Angela, at the end? They bum rush him, right? And so Nathan told me they was talking to Emily on this side, and that he could get to them. And so Ed reaches out over everybody, just in his old Ed Milet way, right? And he goes, "Nathan, you're going to sit with us at dinner tonight. Emily, let's just make it happen. He's going to sit with us at dinner tonight. We're going to figure this out." And that's when I knew, I was like, I got this shit. Like, I know exactly what I'm doing. And that was a big moment. That was a big moment because I knew, like, my gift of ripping people's potential out and showing them what they're capable of was possible. Um, so yeah, that's a long story of how the business was launched. Now I've tweaked it a lot because it used to just be like one-off lessons, right? Because I didn't know to make a program for business professionals. And so now it's an 8 session program. I have a coaching group, MC work, speaking now. Um, but yeah, I went
Wonderful.
on for a while. Sorry.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it. So what are some of the things, as you built your business, you've been through a few obstacles. What are some of the obstacles that you've had to overcome? I mean, it sounds like Amy, you're making it sound just so it's super easy, but I know it's not. So what are some of the obstacles you've had to overcome and how have you overcome them?
Okay. Well, anybody know anytime you're on your purpose path, which is God's plan, it's not going to be puppy dogs and ice cream and rainbows. It's
Okay.
going to be it's going to be like a shitstorm that is I mean, you're going to feel like you're sinking a lot. And up until COVID, I was managing, this is nuts, but I was a full-time teacher. I was coaching about 30 to 40 voice students a week, and I was coaching business professionals because I had tons of time off that I could take off, and I would take off during my planned times, and I would go and coach these business professionals during my planned times.
Right.
Um, but that neglected energy from Andrea, Max, and Leo. Um, so just like anybody that is in business, that's building a business, that's growing something that they feel very passionate about, like I do, um, we tend to do this and have a very tunnel vision, and we're very driven on the thing that we want, right?
Hmm.
Um, so I think the first obstacle was me knowing that all of this is about to end. I knew this. I knew this 2019 that my time in public school was coming to an end at some point in the next 5 years. I didn't know when, I didn't know how, but I knew. Um, and then COVID happened. And then we got on Zoom, which was a new thing for all of us. I wish
Hmm.
I would have had stock in Zoom at that time.
No
Like,
kidding.
we would be filthy rich right now. Um, but I tried my best to keep these kids engaged. I noticed that even my business professionals, people that I looked up to, they were struggling.
Hmm.
Like they would miss meetings, they wouldn't show up to meetings, and I was being very consistent. This is my eighth time to do 75 hard right now,
Wow.
and it like it's a cheat code in my life now. It just is like it's something I can't wait to tell Andy in real life someday. How much he literally has changed my life in a very big way. Um, but that challenge of 2020 June, my dad passing away, that was the suckiest thing. Up to that point, my grandfather committed suicide when I was in high school,
Wow.
and that was rough. But my dad passing away in June 2020 was, I was not ready for that at all. And so about that time too, Ed lost his dad, which was really weird. That we were both going through that at that moment. Um, so it was the first time I experienced panic attacks. I never experienced that. I thought I was having a heart attack at 3 a.m. one night. We called the EMTs, and they were like, "Matt, you're fine. You're healthy. I don't know what's going on.
Hmm.
Have you ever had a panic attack?" And I said, "Yep, I have." So, like any alpha male, I thought, I'm going to beat this out of me. And so I did Jesse Itzler's 29029 event, the climbing the equivalent of Mount Everest.
Okay.
I didn't do it sleeping. I did it 21 hours straight. I was 10th out of 250 people.
Wow.
I came off the mountain. It was still there. In fact, it was agitated. And that was the first time I got suspended in school. These two boys that I hurt their feelings. and I was holding them accountable. We were in mass. It was a weird environment. And I learned real quick coming out of COVID, uh, school system got real soft. You couldn't hold anybody accountable. Kids were
The
bringing
world got
blankets
soft.
to school. Yeah, the world got soft. Everything got soft. Everybody was offended about everything I said. And then I'm a toxic male. And then I'm a racist. I'm a homophobic. And I'm like, bro, like, there was a black man that was my best man at my wedding. You guys are crazy, you know? Um, it was like everybody, because I was so confident, because I had so much success, because I was killing the game, I was a threat.
Mm,
And so everywhere I went, I started walking on, and then 2021, we took in a student that was having issues at home and basically helped her. And she became a daughter to us and helped her out in every way possible that I could. Um, and all of this business and all of these hardships at school, I brought home and I shared with my family, and it hurt them. And I didn't give Andrea, Max, and Leo the energy that they deserve because it was elsewhere.
mhm,
And this is a very hard lesson I've had to learn now. On August 5th this year, I was in Austria on a Zoom call like we are right now, and my wife at the time, Andrea, and the person that we took in were on the same Zoom call, and she said there was a fight that happened between the person that we took in and myself on the trip, and marriage counselor was on there with us, and she said, Matt, I wasn't going to do this. There's not a good time to do this, but I'm going to divorce you. And, and that moment was the hardest moment I've ever been through in my life. And it was rough, real rough. I muted myself and it was carnal. I was yelling and screaming, and because part of me knew I messed up, because I did. I gave too much energy to everyone else and not to my family. And I got so wrapped up in money and making money that I forgot about my family and everyone else around me. But I was scared because it was all new, Angela. Like I got my keys taken away May 2nd. I wasn't going back to public school. I had to build a life for my family, right? And so getting divorced. Luckily, I met someone, Angela, in my life that God put in that is amazing, that sees me for who I am, that doesn't judge me. Um, and her family is amazing. That's where I'm at right now.
mhm,
Um, but like I said on my live today, it's hard.
mhm,
It's hard being away from Max and Leo. You know, um, but this life that we live is a journey, and you're supposed to go through this stuff, especially when you ask for it. Because I did ask to grow,
mhm.
and God said, "Yes, you may grow, but you're not gonna like the way you grow all the time.
No, never do.
It's gonna be painful, and it's gonna hurt,
Mhm,
and but it's gonna be worth it because now instead of inspiring all these kids every day, I get to inspire leaders like you and other business leaders in the world to hopefully use their voice to speak truth like I am today so that they can change people's lives for the better and let people share their soul, which is why we're on earth. And I love being a part of Arte Syndicate. That's why I'm wearing the hat today. But I challenge any people that are in Arte right now, and I did it. I did it a while back on the Facebook post too. You know, probably once a month, Ed and Andy call us out and say, "You guys need to use your voice. Where are you at? Where are you at? Why aren't you using your voice? Why aren't you speaking up?" And I'm a guy that can help people speak up, that can help people use their voice. But you know, be careful what you ask for.
Hmm. Wow, it is very that's very real and very very sharing from the heart. So, you guys are listening to this and you do want to use, an art wanting to get better and public speaking and all of that kind of stuff. I mean, this is definitely someone to reach out to. Um, I'm keeping an eye on the time because I know we could go forever. But I do have one. I'm kind of switching gears a little bit. I have one question, then I have three final questions and anything that we want to leave our listeners with. But one question is, what's one of the most, I don't know if this is the right way to word it. What's one of the most major mistakes that public speakers make that you have to
Easy.
work through?
So
What's
easy.
like number one?
They're fake. They
Mm,
don't connect to their emotions because they've been taught to leave emotions out of business.
authenticity.
And I'm going to just drop some bombs right now. Do you guys really think that Tony Robbins and Ed Milet and Andy Frisella leave emotion out of the equation when they're building things?
Not at all.
Do you really think that?
Not at
There's
all.
no way.
Mm-mm.
They would have no impact on any of us if they didn't share who they really are. And people get like I've seen it. It's and you've seen it too, Angela, at so many entrepreneur events all over the world, right?
Mm.
They get up there, and they have their nice suit on with their nice tie, and they start going clicking through their slideshow, and they have all this information, and they go blah, 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 blah. And it's the way I talk about it with my clients is like you just did a shotgun blast of a bunch of information that makes no sense, and none of it landed, not a single bit. Do you know why? Because you don't feel anything, and you're not connected to it. And because you're not feeling any kind of emotion, that information will not be felt. It will not be heard and it will not be seen. And so that is the biggest mistake that I have to work with business professionals on to be able to take business Matt and personal Matt and do this.
Put it together.
And when I say that to people, like business Angela
Mhm.
and personal Angela, because we love the business brain of Angela and how amazing and I know how to do this and help people and blah 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 and look at me, I'm so professional, blah 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 blah. But the playfulness side and the love and the fun, all that, you gotta combine that. And if you don't combine it, then you're fake. You're not real. It's a phony. And you're not gonna have the success Ed Milet and Andy Frisella and Tony Robbins and like Jesse Itzler. You have to be whole. And so when I work with people, we have a part of it that I call the pillars: mental, physical, spiritual, emotional abundance. And I have them rate themselves on those pillars. And then as a coach, I'm able to go, oh, Angela, I see mental, you're a little low, intelligence wise. We need to work on this. But that's generally not what it is with the business professionals. It's generally emotional and
Mhm.
spiritual are low.
Authenticity. Authenticity. That's the word. There we go.
Yeah,
I love it. Very cool. Well, as in wrapping up, and like I said, I know you guys, if you guys want more information, definitely reach out to Matt. He's super helpful. Of all his information in the
mm,
show notes. And wrapping up, I always have three final questions and then anything that we didn't touch on that we want to leave our listeners with.
I
So
love
first and
questions.
final question is, if someone's looking for their purpose, what's one sentence that you could say that could help them find it?
What do you love? What makes you tick? What are your purposes? There's more than one. And why are you on earth? and to dig into those questions.
Good. I like
Um,
it.
yeah,
Number two, and I'm sure you have more than one, but what's your favorite quote and why?
I'm gonna have to paraphrase it.
Okay.
The man in the arena,
Mm,
who's marred by blood and sweat and dust, who knows the great enthusiasms and great devotions, who, if they fail, at least they fail while daring greatly, so that they will never be with the cold and timid souls that know neither victory or defeat.
I like it. Oh, this is such a good one. And number three is what's one word or sentence you want on your gravestone?
I am whole.
It's good. So you're running into someone in the coffee shop and they're like, hey, Matt, that was amazing. I'm going to work on like being real and combining myself and like growing through the adversity and all the stuff that we touched on today. What's something we didn't touch on that you just want to leave our listeners with?
You get one shot at life to use these vocal folds that are the size of your fingernails that sit right here. You got one shot to speak truth out of love, even if it's hard to hear. And don't waste that shot. Don't waste that shot being so fake and not real, because the world deserves you to be real.
So good. I love that. Guys, be real. Let's go out there. Let's change the world one fish, one starfish, kind of like a fish, one starfish or one person at a time. If we can change one life at a time together, we can change the world. Thanks so much for being on, Matt.
Yeah, thank you, Angela.